G'day YouTube, welcome back to the workshop. Today I've got a really quick video in response to a question asked on the Meus Racing MB24 video. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link it down in the description so you can watch that and get some context. Basically, that build was a Meus Racing MB24 that I built on an FCX24M platform. It's a ton of fun, it's extremely fast. However, I did have some issues killing the servos when I would crash at high speeds. So this video is going to be about the modifications that I did to the servo saver, so let's jump straight into it. Here I've got two stock SCX24 servos. One of them has an unmodified servo saver, and you can see the servo is switched on, and so is the other one. You can see there's barely any spring tension on that servo saver at all. It's going to protect the servo, but it's not going to steer the truck very effectively. And I know what you're saying. You're thinking to yourself, you can just go ahead and tighten up that screw in the middle, and that increases the spring tension. And that is absolutely true. It does increase the spring tension, but due to the design of this servo saver, the more you screw this screw in, the more it causes the servo saver to lock up, and it's really hard to strike a balance. It's either way too soft, or if you tighten it up more, it's almost completely locked out and it barely does anything to protect the servo at all. So that was going to be an issue for me in my MB24 build, which is a high-speed basher style vehicle. In a slow-speed rock crawler, that's probably not as big of an issue. But here you can see the second servo that has the modified servo horn on it, and it's got a good amount of travel on that servo saver, but it's also got a fairly high spring tension, which means that it steers the truck a lot more effectively and still protects the servo when you crash or run into something. Here is the stock servo saver with the spring removed. If I screw the screw in and just until it stops, the servo saver is completely locked out and it's not allowing that cam to move at all. On the modified one, when I do the same and screw that screw till it stops, it allows all of that movement in there, and it lets that cam do its job and allows the servo saver to operate correctly. And all you've got to do to get that extra movement and extra adjustability out of the servo saver is to drill the holes out. The lower is stock and the upper has been drilled out to 3 millimeters. Hopefully you can see that there. Drilling that hole out to 3 millimeters is what gives you that extra adjustability and extra movement out of the servo saver. And once you've got that hole drilled out, you'll find if the servo saver is set too loose, the servo arm can flip all the way around. To get the adjustment set up to a good starting point, all you've got to do is screw the screw in until it's flush with the front of the servo horn, back it off a little bit, and that's a pretty good starting point. That's about how I've been running it on the MB24, and it's been holding up really well, and I haven't shredded the gears in the servo since setting it up like that. That's pretty much it for that little modification. Very straightforward, just drilling the servo horn out to 3 millimeters. However, it is very effective at improving the performance and adjustability of the servo horn itself, and it was all I was able to come up with items that I had on hand. If you've got some suggestions, if you've successfully been running a high performance servo on the FCX24M axle, make sure you hit me up in the comments. I'd be very, very interested to find out what servo you're using. That's where we're going to wrap it up for today, guys. If you got any value out of today's video, please consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't done so already. And subscribing to the channel is a great way to keep up with things that I'm working on, like this exo-caged Suzuki Samurai buggy that's in the works. So that'll be something to look out for very soon. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.